Okay. Hi, everybody. We'll just give everyone about a minute to jump in here for the event. Excited that you're here. Hey, everyone. Welcome. We'll get started in a minute. Just waiting for everybody to jump in. Okay, I'm just going to get started. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our first Staking AMA event. I'm your host, Bobby Lee Hartman, a technical program manager here to help manage our developer community programming for Coinbase Developer Platform. Thank you again for joining, and we're excited to have you tuned in today. So CDP has created a platform that enables developers to help any business transition on-chain. We aim for our tools to continuously improve in efficiency and effectiveness, enabling us to contribute more meaningfully to the success of those building with our products. So to kick things off today, I know there are a few people in here that may have experience with Solana or with staking. So if you could put in the messages chat on the right, if you could just add in, your level of experience with either Solana and or staking, it would be cool for the speakers to kind of know a little bit who's in the audience. So I'll wait for that for a minute for you guys to add that in. Hey, Athena, Solana holder. Yeah, so as you guys are adding that in, I'd like to introduce you to our presenters. We have Aaron and Shane. Aaron is the product lead for Coinbase Staking, and Shane is a senior engineer within the staking team. So the topics they're going to go over today are Coinbase Staking API, what it is, what features it offers our users. And then Solana Staking will go over how you can access it using Coinbase Staking API. And then we'll have a live demo of us using the API to stake SOL and ETH. And how to get started building with the API today, we'll go over that. And then lastly, we'll just take questions from the audience. So with that, some housekeeping notes for questions. So yeah, we'll have the Q&A session towards the end. And throughout the discussion, you might have questions, but just add those into the chat on the right like you're doing now. And we'll get to them and we will be monitoring them throughout the discussion. So keep your questions relevant to the topic is what we ask, and then to be respectful to the speakers and to everyone here. And the session will also be recorded and will be available for viewing later on the Coinbase YouTube channel. And we'll link that in Discord once the recording is done. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. I'll hand everything over to Aaron and Shane, and they'll take it away.
Appreciate it, Bobby Lee. And welcome everyone as well. Appreciate everyone joining today. It should be a really fun session talking about Solana staking. It is the second largest staking network that is currently available. And we expect it's going to be also our second most demanded network from our customers as well. So really excited to be able to speak to you about this today and take you through exactly what we've created over the last few months. If you want to go to the next slide, Bobby Lee, I'll take people through an overview of our API. So the Staking API, for anyone who's not familiar, is a non-custodial API that allows folks to stake to a Coinbase-run operator or validator. So when we say non-custodial, what we mean by that is effectively we don't take custody at any point of your assets or your funds. At all times, the assets are under the control of the delegator or the staker. And so our API just really helps facilitate staking itself. We don't take control of those funds. Largely speaking, we offer around 4 different functionalities when it comes to our API. We offer the ability to generate transactions. Staking, sometimes dependent on the network, can be highly complex and there can be multiple steps. And so we remove all of this complexity. We allow you to create stake and unstake transactions using one single method call. We also have rewards data. So once you stake, how much do you earn? That's the next question. And so our rewards data is very rich. We've actually built Coinbase apps on top of all of this rewards data. And so the same data we use internally to actually create experiences for our users, we're also offering it out for external customers and developers to try and use as well. Next up, on the right-hand side, you'll see on-chain billing and reporting. And these functionalities, which are currently in development today, on-chain billing is really going to simplify how we actually collect commission fees and simplify the invoicing for a lot of developers, meaning that at no point do you actually have to enter credit card details or do anything that is off-chain when it comes to paying for your actual staking services. And then the last one is reporting. I think everyone has seen over the last few months just the regulatory attention staking has gotten and crypto in general. All around the world, people are coming up with, I guess, different regional or jurisdictional views on what crypto is and how it should be treated. And so reporting is becoming a very important area for staking as well as crypto in general. And we're really proud of the reporting features that we're building out that are going to give people much more confidence to actually stake and understand their obligations when it comes to tax, but also data reconciliation as well. If we look at the bottom and the top, so we'll start at the bottom, you can see that all of these functionalities sit across our Coinbase validators. Today, we support Ethereum, both for shared ETH, which means that you can stake ETH without any sort of minimum, and also for Solana. Solana being obviously no minimums as well. Above that, we also have CDP SDK. So this is the single endpoint through which you access our staking capabilities. You can do that right now through a TypeScript, a Golang, or Ruby SDK. Or in the future, we're also going to have an API, HTTP REST API, which will be available for folks to use as well. In the top right, you can see we've got a QR code. If you're super keen and interested to learn more, you can go straight to that QR code and be able to hit our Get Started docs and actually try staking for yourself. But with that in mind, let me talk you through Solana specifically, as this is something that we launched just this week. And I'll tell you a little bit more about why we're excited. Go for it, Bobby. So Solana staking is, for anyone who knows, can be quite nuanced. There are a lot of different things, a lot of different, I guess, actions, which are very specific to Solana. And so what our API does is it abstracts away all of this type of complexity, removes all of this kind of understanding you're expected to learn before you stake, and allows you to, simply just interact with a stake and unstake function. And so on Solana, stuff called, splits, merges, stake accounts, all of that is handled by our API. You don't have to see any of that complexity if you don't want to. We have a very simplified endpoint, as I've mentioned before. You call, just a couple of lines to be able to complete a staking action. And all of this is accessible through the CDP SDK, which, as everyone hopefully already knows, offers you other capabilities, including our AI MPC wallets, as well as transfers, as well as a bunch of different other functionalities as well. Married to that, we have our rich rewards data. As I mentioned, rewards data is extremely important. Users want to understand how much they've earned. We support both historical staking balances, rewards data for stake to our validators. And for all of these, we have like USD, price conversions for all of the values that we're sending back to users. So you can understand, not only what you're earning in native terms, but also in terms that some of your users may relate to a little bit more. And back in all of this is our validator infrastructure. When people think of Coinbase, they think of trust and they think of safety. And when it comes to staking, it's very important that you partner with a staking partner who understands how important it is to run secure operations and truly be able to manage validator operations in the right way. And that's exactly why we're proud to support Coinbase validator infrastructure when it comes to Solana staking. And as you can see from here, we don't just run a kind of a standard vanilla setup. We also have Jito MEV Boost enabled, or MEV, I should say, enabled, and the validator that we support is in the non-US region as well. I believe Ireland to be precise. So with that, let's go to the next slide, and I'll talk a little bit more about some of the benefits. As you can see here, we have kind of like two-sided benefits. We have benefits that are more for users, the end users who are staking themselves, but it also benefits for developers. For users, they can have a very simplified UX. Again, we make our API very simple, so you can make a very simple UX. We also enable them to earn higher rewards than they would on just, standard Solana staking. Again, we have GTO enablement on our validators, which means that yields should be higher than non-GTO enabled validators as well. In terms of developers, now, again, those integrating have additional benefits. So if you're a large enough developer, you will have the opportunity to create custom revenue share agreements with us, which means for every SOL or additional rewards which your users earn and the commission fees which are charged, we actually share that back to you so you can also create your own revenue streams as well. And then again, from a developer perspective, you get a benefit of integrating with CDP SDK. So again, this is this simplified integration point, this one single integration point that can manage multiple functions and features, as well as access to multiple networks. We have folks at the moment who are looking at integrating with ETH staking for us. They will also transition over to use Sol staking. And hopefully, as you'll see in the video, it's as simple as changing just a couple of lines in the code to be able to switch between the two. So with that, if we go to the next slide, I'm now going to play a short video which
My name is Shane.
Shane has put together, and it will guide users through exactly how the API works and what it looks like in code itself. After that, we'll stop for questions, but please post in the chat in the meantime. Go for it, Bobby.
Hi, my name is Shane. I'm on the CDP team here at Coinbase, and I'm really excited to show you a demo today of our CDP SDK, where we go from 0 to staking Solana on DevNet in just a few minutes. So you can see here that I have a completely empty directory, and we can create a brand new Golang project. And then we check out the Golang SDK. So now we have that. Usually the first thing people want to know when they're staking is how much do I have available to stake. So I have a piece of code here that does exactly that. I'm going to copy paste that in. Just to walk you through it briefly, essentially we get an API key, which I have loaded in locally on my machine, create a new Coinbase API client. This is my address that I've been using on DevNet for testing. Then I ask, hey, how much do I have available? What's my stakeable balance? So we can go ahead and run that. And it'll tell us the maximum amount that we'd be able to stake. All right, so we have 4.4 SOL available to stake on DevNet approximately, which is great. So now let's try to actually stake some of that. Bringing in some code here which creates what we call a staking operation. So a staking operation is essentially our way of encapsulating a staking related intent into one or more transactions. So you'll tell us, hey, here's what I want to do on chain. I want to stake half a SOL, I want to stake 10 SOL, I want to unstake, I want to claim stake. And so we'll return back a list of transactions that need to be signed and broadcast that do exactly that. So in this case, we're going to build a staking operation. So we're going to stake 0.1 SOL on Solana DevNet. Then at the end, we're going to print the unsigned payload so we can actually see what the unsigned transaction looks like. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so this blob here is an unsigned staking transaction. So this represents all the things that we wanted to do on chain, but it's still yet to be signed and broadcasted. So now we're going to do that. We're going to add some code here which signs the transaction. So nothing specific to Coinbase API in this case. We're doing some pretty generic cryptographic signing. You can see that I have a private key that is associated with my Solana account loaded on my machine. So we're going to run this. All right, awesome. So now we have a signed transaction. So all we need to do now is get this signed transaction and put it on the actual blockchain, and then we'll have completely staked at that point. So last but not least, I have this code, which gets the raw transaction, so the signed transaction, stands up a connection with an RPC node on DevNet, and then we actually just go ahead and send that to the network. And then we're going to print the broadcast the transaction hash, and we're going to get a link on the Explorer that says that we successfully staked. So one last time. All right, so transaction link is here. Open that up. And there you go. So now the transaction has been broadcasted on DevNet. So we are officially staking on Solana DevNet in just a few minutes.
Cool. I should say thanks for that, Shane. Do you want to say a few words as well?
Yeah, I think
Hi, my name is Shane. I'm on this.
I think one of the things that we really tried to focus on when making the API is that it's really simple to do staking across multiple different protocols. So in the code example, which I'll send here, it's on GitHub, it's public, that there's really only a few lines in there that are specific to Solana. So the idea is that the staking experience, we've abstracted out all these underlying details about how staking works on chain. So it might be a little bit different on ETH versus Solana, say. In fact, it's not just a little different, it's quite different. So we've really focused on making it as simple as possible to do one protocol versus the next. So I think that was like probably my favorite challenge about building this, is trying to break it down into like the smallest components and in the simplest way possible, versus exposing a lot of the complexities of staking to the end developer.
Yeah, and hopefully that came across. I think there was a few comments I see in the CDP stage chat as well. So maybe we can transition over there, Bobby Lee, unless there are some questions you were getting from the Google form.
What was the thing you said first? To do questions from the chat?
Do questions from the chat first? Or
Yeah.
do you want to go to the Google form? Cool.
Yep.
So the question is, does the SDK support hot wallets like Ledger? So the ISDK is quite agnostic of the actual wallet provider. To be able to sign a transaction, you effectively just need access to a private key and some sort of sign-in library that can enable you to sign a transaction. And so the API itself, or the SDK itself, will simply return to you a raw unsigned transaction, and you can choose to sign that however you like, which could include using something like a Ledger device. We don't necessarily have native integration into Ledger SDKs, so you'd still need to find a way to obviously gain access to either the private key or be able to blind sign the transaction on Ledger and then go from there. One of the improvements we are thinking about for the SDK is around introducing EIP 712 support. So that will enable you to have a human readable version of the staking transaction that you're about to sign. And so you'll be able to see, at least on Ethereum, what it looks like when you're staking from a wallet address to a specific validator. On Solana, I don't believe there is any similar standard, but we can certainly look into it and see if there are options there. Next, it's not really a question, but I guess more of a comment. That easy. Yes, it is that easy. I'm a PM. I'm not necessarily an engineer, and I can easily stake, whether it's ETH, whether it's Sol. I can switch between them fairly straightforward. I think what's great, especially about Ethereum, is when it comes to 32 ETH staking, we also spin up the infrastructure for you in the background. So you don't have to think about spinning up validators. You don't have to think about any of the management of like updates. Petra is coming out in a few quarters. You don't have to think about the Petra update. It just works for you. And I think that's really exciting because it opens up the accessibility of staking to so many more people. So yes, it is that easy.
We'll wait for some more questions, but I can ask you some that we plan to ask you. So in the meantime, so one question is, what are Solana warm-up and cooldown periods?
Yeah, so Shane, I don't want to put you on the spot. I know you're a pro when it comes to Solana. I'll give my simple answer, and then I think it would be good for you to elaborate. Essentially, Solana limits the amount of stake that can be active or is activated at any one point. So I believe it's around 25% each time. So as you can imagine, if you're looking to stake, 100 Sol, during the warm-up period, only 25% will be activated at any one time. And so you can imagine it's going to take, let's say, 4 days for that entire 100 Sol or not 4 days, but 4 epochs for that 100 Sol to be able to activate. Shane, I'm kind of looking to you. I think you're a bit more of an expert when it comes to the actual timings here, but what would you say in terms of like a time estimate?
Say 2 days, approximately.
2 days approximately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I think we'll have good feedback about when that's happening, like when it's in that process. So you can see like it'll activate, and you can usually tell like when it's coming, based on how much of like the epoch is left. And so like we're limited in that sense on the actual underlying blockchain. So really we're kind of passing along that delay.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And then cooldown is very similar as well. It takes a certain amount of time. Yeah.
Okay. I have some questions from the audience, so we can switch to that. Okay, so do you plan to support Rust? And then along with this, sorry, it's not clear about the hardware wallet support. So it will work. So will it work with Ledger actually? And then I don't want to expose the private key in the codes and ENB var variables.
Yeah. So something, I think this is a small audience. So I think I can maybe announce a few things. So firstly, I would say on Rust, it hasn't been top of the list to support. But we are always open to add in additional support for different languages. We currently support 3 languages, as I mentioned, Go, Ruby, as well as TypeScript. Rust could potentially be another one. It would be interesting to know from other folks if that is a popular language that is required. On Ledger, you were asking if we natively work with Ledger, it sounds like. I think the answer here is, and Dean, you followed up here, we don't have the native integration to Ledger, I think in a way that works directly with this API in a way you're thinking or imagining. It would require you still to use like some of the kind of third-party libraries. And I believe that would require you to not necessarily expose the private key to us, but you would need to manage that still on your side. I will say, and again, this is a small audience, so maybe it's okay to say, but we are, speaking with Ledger. There are hopefully going to be some more updates there coming very soon, and there are going to be ways for you to stake, more natively with Ledger and Coinbase.
Cool. Another question I have is, are there any other coins the team is planning on adding to staking?
Yeah, again, we have a long list, as you can imagine. Coinbase actually supports 17 different protocols for native staking. So those are validators that we run ourselves and manage ourselves. And so it's just a question of prioritizing which ones are, again, most popular and in demand by our customers, by developers, and by general users. So next up, we are looking at, for example, Polkadot. That's been on the list. Cardano has been spoken about. We're also looking at Celestia, but it's not a fixed roadmap. And so, Dare Valley, if there are some specific coins that you're looking at, some specific networks, then let us know. We're always interested in having some more feedback from the community. And again, all of this is going to be super simple. We're talking about changing a couple of lines to be able to stake between the different networks.
Yeah. Okay, one more question from the same person that asked the first question is, do you provide a simple web UI to check the status of your staked Solanas? And then what is the estimated staking APY?
Yeah. So it's embeddable UIs and UIs in general is something that we speak about or have been speaking about on a daily basis, it feels like recently. We, at the moment, do not have a first-class, web UI. We will be releasing a sample app, I expect next week, which will show you how to use, a front-end UI or build a front-end UI to be able to stake to at least Ethereum. And that can be easily extended to obviously stake Solana as well. In terms of like looking at the status of stake Sol, I imagine that would be able to be extended to then look at that. However, it doesn't necessarily come out of the box. So I think that's something that we would have to look into. And for anyone, I'm looking at the username here, so I see the base username. There's also, conversations that we're looking at with onchain kit, and potentially having staking as a widget within there as well. And I think that's another option we could look at to expose the idea of like stake Sol in a UI as well. And then in terms of estimated staking APY, we'll soon be providing more public information on our APYs. The most accurate information I would say is if you went to like Solana Beach to look at our validators, you can see like the latest APY figures. I believe it's around 6.83, but this is, as of recording, or potentially last week, I would say, that there are ways to check the latest APY figures. And that's, again, something we're looking at introducing in the actual API itself. So you'll be able to pull that programmatically as well.
So yeah, keep asking questions, you guys. We'll watch those in the chat. In the meantime, I have another pre-planned question. What other networks will you be supporting?
Yeah, so I think this is
already answered.
Similar. Yeah. I think these were questions that a few people had in mind as well, which makes sense.
Okay.
Again, we're interested in that roadmap, to let us know.
Yeah. Okay, and then will Coinbase offer support for JITO, MEV, and JIT restaking? Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Yeah. Welcome to crypto, right? I still don't know if it's Haleski or Holsky. But yeah, hey. So when it comes to JITO, yes, all of our validators are JITO enabled, which means that you do earn additional rewards in forms like MEV, tips, etc. We are going to be supporting JITO restaking as well. That's something we're super excited about, and we're looking forward to just supporting the team as they develop their strategy there as well. Coinbase is very fortunate to have a lot of folks internally who are very connected to the community. And so we know the folks over at JITO, it's first name basis. And so we're very much in lockstep with their strategy there. And we're hoping to be able to support them on day one.
One from the audience. Recently, Python was added to the CDP SDK, but it looks like this is not for the staking API portion.
Yes. So that's a good spot. It is something that is on our roadmap again. Well, I should say on our backlog, and we've been looking for a little bit more signal from customers. So definitely, please DM me after this AMA. It'd be good to know about the use case, because we are looking for reasons for why we should prioritize Python. It hasn't yet been demanded by developers on our side when it comes to staking, but we're very much looking for opportunities to expand. So please let me know what you're working on. It'd be great to obviously incorporate that into our kind of like list of priorities as well.
So I have one more question to ask you. So can I stake to any Solana validator?
It's a good question. So at the moment, we only support Coinbase operated validators when it comes to Solana. And that's just because we launched earlier this week. This is something we're still developing, and we're working out the best or optimal strategy here. I think, yes, eventually we do want to offer folks the ability to be able to stake to any validator, but we still want to keep our kind of like simple interface. One of the things that we're looking at is specifically around Marinade as well, and potentially seeing that as an avenue to provide users with more choice. Anyone who is in the Solana ecosystem will know about Marinade, and they kind of help users optimize, I guess, their staking by spreading out their stake across numerous validators, or like the top 100 performing validators of Solana. And I think that's a really cool concept and something that we would want to try and support. So we're still developing our strategy there, but at the moment it is only Coinbase.
Got it. Okay, so we'll leave a few more seconds. If anyone else has any more questions, we'll watch the chat.
You're welcome. I appreciate the questions as well, especially in the chat. It's always nice to do these AMAs and seeing interaction from the crowd. So I appreciate it, folks. And again, DMs are open. Not just me, the whole team. I'm gonna make sure everyone gets involved in this as well. So I'm happy to have chats and follow-ups.
Yeah, so I'll just I don't see any more questions here. We can keep the conversation going in Discord, but this brings us to the end of our discussion. So thank you so much, Aaron and Shane. It was a pleasure having you guys, and to the audience, thanks for asking questions. And if you have any more questions, go into the staking channel that's already in the CDP Discord. And we'll post in there as well when the recording of this video is live. And yeah, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on our next CDP event on October 9th. Thanks so much.
Yes. Take care, everyone.